Hello everyone and welcome back to another Easter egg breakdown of the latest issue of Avengers Infinity War. Wait, no, Halo Infinite. Wasn't there some movie with Mark Wahlberg earlier this year called Infinite? This is the one with the DCAU Justice League, whatever that one's called. Justice League The Adventures Continue, something like that. Today we're gonna go over the entirety of the new issue number 3, including callbacks to animated series lore, references to other comic books, and even more clues for placing this issue on the massive DC Animated Universe timeline. Plus, if you stick around, I'll tell you what this video's thumbnail is all about.
It's a doozy.
And if you haven't been following along with our breakdowns of the first 2 issues of Justice League Infinity, or the new season of Batman The Adventures Continue, go save them all to your watch later so you can, I don't know, ignore that playlist for months before finally coming back to it. That's how it always works for me. JL Infinity issue number 3 brought us the 3rd part in the story, The Mirror Cracked, and hang on, that's the inverse of the name of the first 2 parts. Those were The Cracked Mirror. The Mirror Cracked was the name of that old 80s Man of Steel story. Oh, looks like writer JM dematteis watched our last video and tweeted at us. The Mirror Cracked, which was supposed to be the title, somehow the words were reversed, is from a Tennyson poem. No relation to any other comic book stories. Huh, okay. Wait, so does that mean the first 2 issues were also supposed to be The Mirror Cracked? And they're changed now? No? So, was it always supposed to switch names at number 3? This new one says, The Mirror Cracked, Part 3, but shouldn't it be Part 1? There's no other The Mirror Cracked before this, only The Cracked Mirror. Does this mean future issues will say blah 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 story title Part 5? The mirror cracked from side to side, the curse has come upon me, cried the Lady of Shalott. More like the Jamesy of right here. Correction speedrun, stuff we messed up last time. Or more stuff anyway. dematteis also debunked Ashley Tutchin's theory about Superman's dialogue relating to Doctor Who. Sorry, Ashley, you were wrong. We know the feeling all too well. As Freud allegedly said, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Ah, yes, but as Batman said,
I don't believe in
cigars. However, our assumption that Eric Jessawala is named after the real-world equivalent was likely very right, thanks to Ravi Shankar informing us that dematteis himself is a devotee of Indian spiritual master Meher Baba, evidenced in a lengthy and super intriguing post on dematteis' Facebook fan page, which by the way you should totally go follow because he posts stuff about this comic all the time, and he's like a really good writer and stuff. And for the last 2 corrections, my god, a lot of you felt the need to either point out A, that supermen from other universes have traditionally not been affected by kryptonite that's not from their own universe, featured prominently in Infinite Crisis, or B, that Daxam is a planet very close to Krypton on the Supergirl show, meaning it could be one of these much more likely to be moons, planetoids near Krypton in Overman's flashback. And sure, we don't have any evidence of the alternate dimension kryptonite thing, and sure, we have seen evidence that Daxamites do exist in the DC Animated Universe via Mon-El in Justice League vs. the Fatal 5, or the crew from Justice League Adventures number 3, but like, Jesus, people, these are so many comments. Please keep making them. Thank you for feeding the algorithm beast. Did you know he was spliced by Emil Dorian from Don Cheadle himself? DCAU References! Okay, let's get to the meat of this issue. Beginning with the cover, we see several members of the DCAU Justice League present who don't actually appear in the issue. Wildcat, Dr. Fate, Green Arrow in silhouette, and Supergirl, who thankfully isn't in the actual story, because man, would that have been a whole can of worms. You'd think if they brought her back just for this, because of James Tucker's involvement, who was a producer on Justice League Unlimited, that they'd actually explain why she's not in the Legion of Superheroes future anymore. That sketch of her from artist Ethan Beaver's Instagram keeps haunting me. What is this for? Lois Lane referring to always being told the correct term isn't universe, but multiverse by a curmudgeonly editor is likely a nod to Perry White, though how he knows multiverse from multigrain is a complete mystery to me. Either that or this line is a meta gripe from dematteis or James Tucker. Or both?
Both. both as good.
Several news reporters show up on screen in the Watchtower, reporting on the leaky vape juice from the mirror room, including a pretty dang Angela Chen-looking person, and as revealed from the speech bubble list version of this page from solicitations, a rather Summer Gleason-y woman too. Though, according to Ethan Beavers, none of these are supposed to be anyone pre-existing in particular, and more a blend of news people from his mental index. So this is Summer Gleason with that Static Shock reporter's hair and clothes, and this is Angela Chen with Jack Ryder, parenthesis, the creeper, close parenthesis, his chin. Got it. I'm a headcanon, this is Snapper Carr in a Red Baron cosplay. The green one will die first! Oh no, quick, Bernie Rast! Get him on the phone and warn him right now!
Get a green one!
It's a deep cut. This panel of J'onn J'onzz reaching for Overman as he threatens another psychic invasion is very similar to this "I'll just have to try harder" shot from Star-Crossed Part 3 with Krager. And on a similar note, really, J'onn? You're disgusted with yourself that you dig into someone's brain against their will like that? May I introduce you to that alien policeman from In Blackest Night? He's still in a coma! Similarly, this tilted angle aboard the League ship, complete with a League member hooked up to weird machinery, reminds me a lot of the cover for JL Adventures number 21, but decidedly less Smarzatex. J'onn and Wonder Woman discussing J'onn's humanity calls back to their conversations in earlier episodes, memorably JLU's To Another Shore and Destroyer. But similar themes were also used in the 2003 novel Justice League: A League of His Own, which Maddie just finished reading on their streams. Go check out the archives of this book read-through on our second channel, The Pod Tower. A shameless plug? Yes. A necessary one, because why are you not subscribed over there already? Also, yes, there's a new podcast there. It's funny, and there's other podcasts, and all sorts of stuff. God, please, come on! And finally, though not a direct reference to his main timeline DCAU counterpart, it turns out that spicy Clayface Free Doomsday is none other than Earth X's Professor Emil Hamilton. In an experiment gone wrong, he became this version of Doomsday, though it's not exactly clear how. Maybe he wasn't that different from the Hamilton we know, and his Cadmus-related Doomsday experiments went awry. Wait! I got it! The possible future of Batman Beyond is actually the future of this universe, and Hamilton Hill High School is named after Doomsday Emil Hamilton. What's the hill part, then, you ask? This one, the one I will die on. Still, we really do need to figure out which Doomsday is bigger. It's the real question here. Maybe if we measure Doomsday's hair length in pixels and compare that to Superman's canonical height. Comic book references!
In this issue, we meet a very different Justice League, or sorry, alliance.
Do you want to form an alliance with me?
Absolutely, I do.
The Justice Alliance of Earth D was first introduced in the pages of the Legends of the DC Universe Crisis on Infinite Earths #1 special, written by Marv Wolfman in February 1999, which basically took place between issues number 4 and 5 of the original Crisis crossover. According to Wolfman, the D in Earth D was intended to stand for diversity, which is evident in its Asian version of the Flash, Native American Green Arrow, and the Black Superman. However, Superman is not Calvin Ellis of Earth 23 like I speculated, even though he does wear Calvin's symbol and costume. He's referred to as Cal, which matches the original depiction of Superman D and what Lois called normal Superman in issue number 2, which goes along with Superman saying that Superman D was like the other half of my own soul. Soul Brothers? Maybe it's actually Calvin Ellis with a K, kind of like what Mortal Kombat does with their Cs. Maybe Ultra Instinct Shaggy will show up later. Probably not, but it is totally canon.
Over here, man!
Wonder Woman is also not Nubia, but a new character named Dunati, which may be Hindi in origin. The original Earth D Wonder Woman was referred to as Dai by the Atom D, and implied to be Middle Eastern, though that was never stated one way or another. This JLI issue also reveals she is married to Superman, though he was married to Supergirl on the original Earth D. Hopefully she wasn't half Superman's age in that universe, like an Estas, or his cousin. Anyways, this isn't even the first time James Tucker has been attached to a DC project with the Superman-Wonder Woman relationship. Take the DC animated movie universe, for example. The Justice Alliance's Batman is said to be a family man in the original comic. He's married and has 3 children, one of which is Dick, his psychic Robin. Batman's design in JLI also has hints of Batman the Brave and the Bold, especially since Ethan Beavers also drew for that show's tie-in comic, and co-writer James Tucker produced the animated series. I could almost hear Diedrich Bader's voice when reading his lines.
My name is Zeta.
Wait, Wrong clip. Batman D also flies the Whirly Bat, a small personal helicopter which first appeared in Detective Comics number 257 in July 1958, and furthermore throughout the 1960s. A version of this vehicle appeared in one shot in JLU's Ultimatum episode, where Batman flies into battle with the Ultiman. Aquaman dangles off the side for a sec. DVD commentary for JLU's The Return shares that the show's creators were upset by the less than lukewarm fan reaction over the Whirly Bat, considering how much work was put into the design for only a few quick shots. The Flash is likely Tanaka Ray, a Japanese man and main character of the Legends one-shot. He connected with Barry Allen in the same way that Barry originally knew of Jay Garrick. Earth D had comic books that showcased the Flash of Earth 1 as a fictional character. However, that element of Earth D doesn't seem to be in play for Justice League Infinity, yet. Green Lantern is presumably Jose Hernandez from Brazil in Legends. He was a fighter pilot with a similar origin to Hal Jordan, though his costume was fashioned more after Kyle Rayner's, who was the only Green Lantern at the time of the original comics publication. Aquaman now has scaly pointy ears and a more permanent Namor-like scowl, but otherwise looks pretty close to his original Silver Age character design, as do both Hawkman and Jean, though the latter also feels pretty similar to his DC The New Frontier look by Darwin Cook. Hawkman is referred to as Ahmed, which is likely a reference to the character's Egyptian roots. Moving on to the Freedom Fighters side of things, we are introduced to Professor Potter, based on Phineas Potter from Silver Age Superman comics, originally the uncle of Lana Lang, who created many inventions for the betterment of humanity, with unintended consequences that often backfired on Jimmy Olsen. Post-Crisis, the character was reinvented as a Star Lab scientist who met Connor Kent's Superboy. The version in JLI actually more closely resembles Lois Lane from Justice League Gods and Monsters, which may be pure coincidence, but Bruce Timm style is gonna Bruce Timm style. As James mentioned, the Earth X-ish Doomsday was revealed to be Professor Emil Hamilton, who underwent some experimental transformation. Doomsday, of course, was the monster responsible for the Death of Superman storyline, where Hamilton met the creature with a blast from a War World laser cannon weapon. To little effect, but it's the thought that counts. And oh my god, what is happening to Supergirl's face in that panel? For the lack of a better term, the swirly cosmic bullshit emanating from the mirrored room remind me of the tail end of Ranthanagar War with the big hand-filled vortex that led to Infinite Crisis. This is especially apparent in the panels where the Justice League flies right into it, but portals of cosmic Kirby crackle are nothing new to DC Comics and the DCAU. What is new would be the Infinity 1 Javelin ship, designed by the Atom and Mr. Terrific to withstand strange unknowns that the League could encounter throughout the multiverse. Another such ship is the Ultimate Thule, which was used as a multiversal transport in Final Crisis, Multiversity, and Dark Knight's Metal, similar in design and concept to the Carrier, the original multiversal transport ship of its nature, which was piloted by the Authority to travel across the Bleed, aka the arterial spaces that weave between all parallel universes. By the way, if you do want to form an alliance, go ahead and sign up for my free newsletter at tedkendrick.com to stay up to date on my creative endeavors.
Shameless plug time!
Sorry, yeah, I know by now this segment is comic book references, not self-promotional plugs. I take it all back, okay? I take it back.
Timeline stuff!
Luckily, since Justice League Infinity is moving the DC animated universe forward, rather than finding every conceivable way to shove in previously unknown lore, there's not a lot to report here this time around. And eventually, as with all jobs, this section of our breakdown videos will become fully automated with a Zeta bot filling the role of Maddie Washburn. Until we get there, issue number 3 of JLI has Lois mentioned that she hasn't set foot in a place of worship for years. The most recent time that we know of being Superman's funeral in Hereafter Part 1. Is it coincidence that both tales see Superman being blasted through space and time? Yeah, probably, but a neat little coincidence nonetheless. Of course, if you've been following along at home, I'm sure you've already surmised that we're years after anything that occurred in the original Justice League show. After all, James Tucker did mention that this comic was simply built different. And by built different, I mean different than we originally thought, because we're actually between Justice League Unlimited and Justice League versus the Fatal Five, rather than after both of those. Though that does raise some questions about the League's new ship, the Infinity 1 Javelin. Like, how does the numbering work? Their first ship was the Javelin 7, and now this is the Infinity 1 Javelin? Are they counting down?
Why are we counting backwards? What are we waiting
waiting for?
I guess we did have that Javelin 1 in Justice League Adventures, but is that even canon? Where are Javelins 2 through 6? How do numbers work? But seriously, we're told in dialogue from Shiera that this new ship is an upgrade to the Javelin fleet. And the sentiment is reinforced by Lois when she refers to the other forms of Javelin that we've seen on the shows as the ship's predecessors. Put aside that the Atom and Mr. Terrific just so happened to be building a ship capable of multiversal travel right around the time the League ended up needing it.
Plot device.
In Justice League versus the Fatal Five, we see the League still using the JLU version of the Javelin. Of course, there are multiple ways to explain this. As we see in this issue, a JLU-style Javelin is still on the Watchtower, so it's not like the team couldn't technically use it if they wanted to, and who knows, maybe something malfunctions with this ship later on in the story, and the team just decides the potential upgrade isn't worth it. Maybe this Javelin is used specifically for multiversal missions, but like, how many of those do the League even go on? And why did it take them so long to finally build a ship for them? Batman's already met the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all the way back during Batman the Animated Series, and then there's the time that, wait, no. I gotta save that for the DCAU multiverse video we're working on, so sorry, but it's down the road a little bit. Now that we're on that topic, across the multiverse, we learn that the Freedom Fighters came together in 1960, which answers questions we had earlier about the rise of the Fourth Reich, but also puts a damper on our theory that this may have still been a version of the Savage Time timeline, given this occurred not long after Vandal Savage resurrected the Nazi cause, and not during World War II, which was said to be his last best chance of taking over. No Vandal Savage laptop messages here. James said to ad-lib a back to him thing, but you don't get one. And now for sports.
Other/miscellaneous? Look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's yet another reference to the Adventures of Superman radio show from the 40s. Did that show seriously just air in-universe, in every universe? Overman's real name is revealed to be Karl Kant, same as it is in his mainstream comic appearances, though the name itself may be a reference to German philosophers Immanuel Kant and or Karl Marx. Not any direct Nazi association, but still German. The Know Your Enemy poster is pretty reminiscent of old World War II propaganda regarding the USA's targeting of Japan and Nazi Germany. Or it's a reference to the song by Rage Against the Machine, or the one by Green Day. Regardless, Green Lantern is clearly a dead Kennedys fan. These freedom fighters seen at their HQ appear to be wearing the same outfits and armbands as the guys Overman was standing over last issue, and Superman D's "Great Scott" is a phrase most commonly associated in pop culture with Doc Brown from Back to the Future, but was actually a pretty commonly used Superman catchphrase back in early comics. Not just a team, Unati, a family, the only real family I've ever known. Even more new high school English class vocab words this issue. We got anathema, which means something or someone that one vehemently dislikes, and manacles, which I for some reason didn't know were metal bands, chains, or shackles for fastening someone's hands or ankles. So these could canonically be super manacles? I'd say I'll see myself out, but I have one more note to myself that says somehow incorporate the Spider-Man pointing meme, but with Superman and Superman D.
Well, here you go.
Scoreboard! Based on our previous videos about this comic series, here we're gonna update our score of running predictions of what we got right and wrong. Current score for this comic is a +1. We'd guessed that Superman would be Calvin Ellis and Wonder Woman would be Nubia, but although that wasn't the case, we had correctly identified who they're based on visually, and like, how could we possibly have known they'd change the names? So I'm not gonna count that against us, okay? Who makes the rules? I make the rules. Me! But the score does go down to a hard 0, with our assumption last time that each issue of this comic would be narrated by a different founding member of the Justice League. Because, well, unless I missed something and Lois Lane's hand was in that group huddle, we were wrong. Unless Lois becomes a Leaguer by the end of this comic series and Green Lantern dies. I don't know why I chose Green Lantern, probably because it would be devastating to Warhawk stuff and the fanboys would all cry. It would be funny, okay? I don't dislike Green Lantern. I made a whole video about Green Lantern and every Green Lantern DCAU history thing. You person you're taking this too seriously. I'm not taking it too seriously. You're taking it too seriously. Shut up. So, 0. We have 0 points right now. It's still better than -1 over in BTAC land. Conclusion. If you're going to give a speech, at least come up with something original. Oof, I wish Wonder Woman had had that conversation with Paul Dini and Alan Burnett last year. This issue ends with Wonder Woman being teleported into a frozen tundra where she traipses into a cave and finds DARKSEID? Big Rocky Face himself was hinted at earlier when Amazo Darth Vader knowed at some multiverse shards in issue number 2. But here he is in the flesh and looking very close to the way we saw him in Superman the Animated Series and the JL episode Twilight, save for a slightly differently shaped helmet and a belt buckle or just lines or something. There's lines there, I don't know. But when he came back from the dead in the JLU finale, he looked like this, decked out in a much more hyper-detailed set of armor. Longtime fans of that show and of this channel will know that according to JLU writer Matt Wayne, this look wasn't actually the presumed reanimation combination of Darkseid and Brainiac from the debris of Brainiac's big head asteroid, but actually just a new cool costume for the sake of a new cool costume, labeled as his Kiss costume, in line with those episodes' titles Alive and Destroyer both being Kiss albums. But Bruce Timm actually clarified on the old Toon Zone message boards that it's kind of both.
I'm more powerful than I've ever been.
Is certainly an implication of something more than just, I got Gene Simmons boots now, baby! And the fusion of Brainiac and Darkseid, at least slightly, is apparently supposed to be the case. But after all of that, is this literally the Darkseid we've seen throughout the DCAU, or one from a different reality? According to producer Dwayne McDuffie, when Lex Luthor gifted Darkseid the anti-life equation, they were both fused into the Source Wall, which I've personally accepted as my headcanon for forever. We even put it into our Legacies of the DCAU webcomic, which you can read at legacesdcau.com. We're working on more issues, leave me alone. But this concept has already been Play-Doh molded in the kinda canon but not really Earth 12 comics, where Darkseid was able to come back somehow and was just left blinded. And really, any sort of producer statement about a character's off-screen history is going to be pretty easily knocked off the board by on-screen history. And yet, these are the tie-in comics, which has always been questionably canon. If this does turn out to be the real Darkseid, but there's no throwaway line about the Source Wall, which version do we go with? I guess it'll be up to us to figure out next video, because hell, as far as we know, this could be the Darkseid from Super Friends, who always kind of weirdly had the hots for Wonder Woman, seeing as how, oh my god, this is the cover for the next issue! David Gallagher, are you watching? I'm talking about Super Friends! But seriously, this cover is beautifully drawn by James Tucker, who said on Twitter that he just had to attack it based on how intriguing the story was, and that he thought Susan Eisenberg would approve of where they're going with Darkseid, my love. And while it is one of the more disturbing things I've seen in the last couple years, and I witnessed a childbirth, I can't look away. It's so intoxicating. I wonder what Darkseid's lips feel like. I'm gonna have to go lie down in bed for a bit and think on it. Why didn't they use his kiss look for his big kiss? What the heck? That's it for this issue. Join us again next month for Batman The Adventures Continue numero 4, a really gorgeous story drawn by guest artist Jordan Gibson. And then later for our Justice League Infinity number 4 breakdown. We talking about these comics all the time, until they end, which they never will. Thank you so much to all of our amazing supporters over on patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower for being a continuous source of consistent income for this weird thing called being a YouTuber. With how much new DCAU content I have to keep up with on a regular basis, while also trying to plan out and produce several giant Watchtower Database storyline videos over the next couple months, there are times I'd rather just be a plain old tuber, I can tell you that.
I removed half a dozen of these tubers from Swamp Thing's corpse a few years ago while he was temporarily temporarily deceased.
So head on over to our Patreon page and check out all the cool stuff we got going on over there in exchange for your pocket change. Or more is also cool. See, wouldn't want to be, unless you're Jordan Gibson, then I do want to be, because, come on, I draw Batman good too. Let me do one of these. Okay, bye.
It sound right, boy.